My name is Vladimir Jabotinsky, and I was born in the city of Odessa, Russia. I had a fairly common childhood. I was a normal kid. By the time I was 12, I had my first crush, and by the time I was 13, my first wedgie, I had my first crush. It's a very normal child, and I wanted a normal career. When I was 18, I left for Italy and Switzerland to study law, and served as a correspondent for several well-known Russian newspapers. I am modest now when I say this, but my reports and articles were very, very popular, and I soon became recognized as one of the most brilliant exponents of Russian journalism. So in case you're wondering why me, a very normal law student, would become so engaged in Zionist activities, I'll tell you. In 1903, 5 years later after I left, there was a pogrom against the Jews of Kishinev, and many, many people were killed. And this motivated me to undertake Zionist activity. I organized self-defense units and fought for Jewish minority rights in Russia. And as a result, I was elected as a delegate to the 6th Zionist Congress. During this period, I was also active in spreading the Hebrew language and culture throughout Israel and throughout Russia, and the establishment of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. When I was discharged from the British military, I was one of the initiators of the Haganah, working to train Jews in self-defense and weaponry. After the 1920 Palestine riots, my house was searched by the British at the demand of the Arab leadership. Needless to say, they found quite a few weapons. And as a result, I was condemned by the British military government to 15 years of hard labor for possessing the weapons and inciting the Arab riots. Luckily, however, there was public outcry against the verdict, so I received amnesty and was released from prison. A few years later, during the years 1928 to 1929, I lived in Palestine and edited the Hebrew daily Dawar Hayom, while at the same time undertaking increased political activity. In 1929, I left the country on a lecture tour, after which the British administration denied me re-entry into Palestine. Later in my life, I was commander of 3 different organizations, which fell under one word. The 3 units were the New Zionist Organization, the NZO, the Beitar Youth Movement, and the IZL, or the YUIsraelClub. In terms of responsibilities, the New Zionist Organization was the political arm that maintained contact with governments and other political factors. Beitar educated the youth of the diaspora for the liberation and building of Eretz Israel, and the IZL was the military arm that fought against the enemies of the Zionist enterprise. When I was around 60 years old, I visited the Beitar camp in New York, when I suddenly felt very weak. That was the last thing I remember.
On August 4th, 1940, Jabotinsky suffered a massive heart attack. He requested in his will that his remains be interred in Eretz Israel. His request was fulfilled by Levi Eshkol, Israel's 3rd Prime Minister. In 1964, his remains and those of his wife, Jeanne, were reinterred on Mount Herzl in Jerusalem.